Hey everybody, and welcome to the next chapter, Boolean indexing multiple conditions. So in this chapter we are going to create complex filters with the and, or, and not logical operators. So they each have their own special operator that we'll learn about. For readability, we're going to assign each filter to its own variable. So this is something that I like to do to teach. And then finally we'll use the is-in method to test for multiple equalities in the same column. Okay, so we're just going to build off of the very previous lesson where we just created a single condition. Now we're going to create a multiple condition expression. So let's go ahead and read in the bike's data frame and find all the rides that were longer than 1,000 seconds when it was cloudy. So to do this, we'll need help of this ampersand. Let's read in this data set. And let me just shorten this up so I can have a little bit more room on the screen. All right, so here's the head of the bike's data frame. Previously, we created a single condition right here based on one column. So let's actually go ahead and recreate this. So I like creating this filter. I like to use the variable name filt. And so we have trip duration. Let's make this condition greater than 1,000. So we just learned that in the previous section. And then before we do the multiple condition, let's just remember exactly what we did. So this is a single condition right here. We're just testing that trip duration is greater than 1,000. So this will return all of the trip durations that are, or it'll actually return only the rows that have a trip duration greater than 1,000. Now, the other condition here is that we want the event to be cloudy. So we're going to go ahead and make a separate line of code here. To test for this, so we're going to test whether events is the string cloudy. So now we have filt1 and filt2 going on. All right. So if I just use filt2 here in the selection, in the brackets, then I will return only events that were cloudy. All right. Okay, so now we're going to learn how to combine these single conditions into multiple conditions. So the problem states here that we want to find, all the rides that have, all the rows where there was a ride longer than 1,000 seconds and when it was cloudy. So this is we want both of them to be true in the same line. So we need to find a trip duration like this row where it's greater than 1,000 and it was cloudy. Okay, so to do this, so I'm going to write another line of code here. We're going to say filt1 and filt2. So filt1 again is let's go ahead and take a look at this just by itself. So filt1 is a Boolean series. Just goes through the trip duration column and tests it against 1,000. Filt2 is also a Boolean series, and it goes through the events column and it tests whether each value is cloudy. Now, this statement, so this is what the first two statements do. This statement right here, filt1 and filt1 and filt2. So we're going to make a comparison here, filt1 and filt2. So it's going to go one by one. It's going to check false to false, false to false, true to false. So there needs to be a true for both of them in order for filt to be true. So if we look at filt, and I don't think I executed this. So if we look at filt, you can see that only where they're both true, that we will have a true in the result. Okay. So maybe we should go all the way to 8 or 10 so we can see this. So there's a true there at index 8 in filt1, and then there's a true there in index 8 for filt2, which means the resulting filt will have a true also at index 8. So that's the first one where they are both true. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and delete these cells. And now we can just apply the actual filter to the entire data frame. So again, this is done by passing it to the brackets And now if we look at trip duration, we will see that all of these should be greater than 1,000 and all of the events should be cloudy. So we verified our results there and everything looks good to go. All right, so that's how you do a multiple condition when you're doing an AND. Now it is possible to do this all in one line. So I like to break it up into multiple lines because it's it helps with readability. So that's one of the objectives in this lesson. So you can clearly see what's going on, but you can do this in one line. So I'm gonna show that. So first I'll actually do it in 2 lines. So what you can do is, and you have to wrap these in parentheses, you can create a multiple condition filter in one line like this. You just have to wrap each condition in parentheses. So this is the trick to doing this. So here I've done the same thing that I just did above, but I did it in one line. So I put the first condition, which is, bikes trip duration greater than 1,000, and then I put the second condition, bikes of the events column equal to cloudy. Now this will not work if you do not have parentheses. The reason for this has to do with operator precedence. So I'll just make a quick note here. What Python will try to do if there are no parentheses, the ampersand has precedence, means it comes first in line of evaluation over the greater than sign. So what will happen first is it'll try to do this, and that will fail. So that is sort of nonsense. So you'll get an error there. You have to wrap each condition in parentheses if you want to put it in a single line. So I've done it correctly here, so this should work. Now, you'll sometimes see people do this all in one line, like literally just one line. So I don't really recommend this. But you can certainly, this is syntactically correct, but it's a lot going on in one single line of code. You will see this. People will do this when they're writing pandas. It just it's a lot in one line. So I like to break it out, especially in the beginning. So that's my suggestion. All right, so that is an AND condition. Let's do a different condition. Let's do a different multiple condition. This time we'll use an OR condition. So let's find all the rides that were done by females or had trip durations greater than 1,000 seconds. So let's start this again. So we'll say filt1, and let's see, the column is gender, and we're going to test equality to female. That's filt1. Then we're going to create filt2, and we will do trip duration here is greater than 1,000. Okay, so we've created our 2 filters, and then filt, not filt1, but filt will be a combination of these, filt1 or filt2, and then we will make the selection here. So let's make sure we understand this. So this is the first condition, testing whether gender is female. The second condition is checking whether trip duration is greater than 1,000. And then this third line just combines the 2 with an OR operator, which is the pipe character. So this will go, one by one through filt1 and filt2 and look for one or more true values. So either one can be true. So let's go ahead and check this. So we have here, if gender is male, then trip duration better be greater than 1,000. So one of these conditions has to be true. If gender is female, it doesn't matter what trip duration is. So we can see here, it looks like everything is working. If it's male, then it's greater than 1,000. If it's female, that's all that matters. Okay, so let's just put dot head here and move on. All right, so the third thing that you'll want to know is how to invert a condition. So to invert this, you use the not operator, which is a little tilde. So let's go ahead and create a simple condition here. We'll just say filt equals bikes of trip duration greater than 1,000. So if we just use this, then all of the trip duration will be greater than 1,000. So we'll just get the rows where trip duration is greater than 1,000. Now, here's the inversion operator. So it's just this little tilde, and this will invert whatever this is. So if filt was true, then it'll be false, and if it was false, then it'll be true. So this will only get the trip durations less than or equal to 1,000. So this is quite a pointless one. Obviously, if you're going to do this, you should just use a less than or equal to sign. But just so that we can, see or get the point across, you can invert, any type of Boolean series just like that. So just place the little tilde right in front, and you will in fact invert, invert that entire series. So let's just see a more complex inversion here. So we'll just take we will take the condition that we just did above, this or condition, which was rides by females or those with a trip duration greater than 1,000. So here, this is a sort of better use case, I suppose, or at least a little more complex case. So again, filt is simply, the or condition applied to female or trip duration greater than 1,000. So we're going to reverse that. So you have to do a little bit of logical, truth tables in your head to kind of figure this out. So if the person is, we're going to reverse this. So if it is male and less than 1,000, then that's what should be returned here. And you can see that we're only getting males with trip duration less than 1,000. So it looks like it has inverted it properly. Okay, so that's how you invert something with that little tilde. All right, and the last thing that I would like to show is how to test multiple equality conditions. So let's say we want to find all the rides that happened in rain, snow, or sleet. So here we have bikes, and we have events. So that's where all the the weather is. All the weather events are over here. So to test whether it's rain, we would simply do that. But we want to test multiple conditions, so we could do it like this. And I'm just going to do it a little sloppily here, and then show you the nicer way in just a second. So we could say we want it to be either rain, either snow, or either sleet. So we'll just assign this to a variable called filt. And so that should just return us rain, snow, or sleet. So if we go over here, you can see that there's a lot of rain. Let's keep going down until, okay, there's some snow. So I believe this data set is ordered by time of year. So anyway, so that will indeed work. So I'm using an or condition in a single line. So I'm making sure I'm wrapping each condition in parentheses, so it's syntactically correct. And then I'm just simply applying that filter to the data frame. Now you would not want to complete this operation like this. So there's a much better way. And the way to do this is to create a list. So we can do rain, snow, and sleet, and then use the isIn method to create the filter. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do bikes of events dot isIn. Okay, so the way the isIn method works is that you give it a sequence of values that you want to test equality for that particular column. So we're going to say, does this column events, it's going to go one by one through all of the events and see if they are in this 3-item list right here. So that's what this will do. So you can just see what's going on here. It doesn't look like there's so there's a few trues over here. And we'll just assign this to filt. So this returns a Boolean series, and that's important. You need just a Boolean series here. And then we will put filt in here, and we should get the same exact results as above. And it'll be looks like it's a bunch of rain, and then finally there's some snow down here. So that is the isIn method. So we called a method on our this is one of the first methods that we have seen outside of the basic head and tail, but it's a good one to use for multiple equality conditions, and this is a perfect use case for this. All right, so that wraps up Boolean selection multiple conditions, use the ampersand, the pipe symbol, or the this tilde, and then you can use isIn to test for multiple equalities. And for readability, I would suggest putting each filter, assigning each filter to its own variable on its own line of code. All right, I will see you guys in the next section.